This is Jeremiah chapter 50, verse 1 in the NLT. It says, Yahweh gave Jeremiah the prophet this message concerning Babylon and the land of the Babylonians. This is what Yahweh says. Tell the whole world and keep nothing back. Raise a signal flag to tell everyone that Babylon will fall. Her images and idols will be shattered. Her gods Bel and Marduk will be utterly disgraced. Shalom, shalom. Before I begin this lesson, I want to give all praise, honor, and the glory to Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem, Rakah HaKodash. Double honors to the apostles, bishop, and elders, a great millstone that rule well, and peace and blessings be multiplied on all you brethren out there teaching this word in all sincerity and in truth. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the 144,000, and the rest of the elect out there. I'm the brother Dama Gabar, here with another lesson, Lord willing, to edify through the spirit and power of Yahweh, Yahweh Shai. All right. And the same message that Yahweh gave Jeremiah is the same message that we have against Babylon, Babylon, the great in this time. All right. Which is America, by the way. All right. And this is why you always hear us referring to America as Babylon, because spiritually this place is Babylon, and spiritually Sodom and Egypt. All right. And hey, the message is that Babylon will fall. And this place has been falling, all right? And pretty soon it's going to ultimately completely fall. And I'm saying this as far as the this Babylonian, this American society, and it's getting ready to fall, man. It's literally teetering on a thread, all right? And this place is about to economically fall, and pretty much, all of the citizens of Babylon, they're going to fall right along with this society when these elites, ultimately pull the plug on America. Mainly when this financial system ultimately crumbles under the weight of debt and inflation and hyperinflation, as the American people are witnessing and dealing with at this very moment, man. This is why you're seeing all of these crash out videos. You're seeing these Americans coming on TikTok, on YouTube, on these different platforms, basically just complaining how, life, the American dream is dead. It's unlivable. It's unattainable. It's a dream. No matter how hard you work, no matter how many hours you work at your job, you can just never get ahead. The most Americans don't even have savings. Even Americans that do have savings, they're having to dip into their savings, basically to sustain their everyday life. People are not going on vacations. A lot of people who are retire, but still have to work after they're so-called retired because their retirement doesn't cover the expensive living, the high cost of living that it takes to live in these American cities, and to buy groceries and for insurance and for paying for their medical bills, for medications is just all too goddamn expensive. Ultimately, it's because the dollar is getting weaker and this economy is, and this economy is getting basically out of control. And I was reading this article. Let me show you this, man. It says the 2025 American dream will cost you $5 million, man. You see that? The American dream now costs $5 million, which basically nobody can afford. All right. Unless you come from a super rich family, and by the time you turn 21 or 18, you had an inheritance that you can get. But this American dream is out of reach for the everyday average American citizen, and even for the average immigrant that comes to this country, man. It just shows you that ultimately, hey, this place is finished and this place is through. All right. And let me get this scripture, and this is for, you brothers and sisters, for you true believers out there. All right. There's something that we got to constantly keep in mind. All right. And this is ultimately what's keeping us, afloat in this world, is knowing that this place will eventually fall. All right. And we have a great kingdom and a great things to look forward to, as far as the future for the Israelites, mainly for the elect, and then eventually for all Israel, is that this is not the end all be all of our, of the ages, Hey, we have something great and something beautiful to look forward to, in the return of our Lord and Savior, Yahweh Shai HaMashiach, and our kingdom, which is going to be an everlasting kingdom. All right. And we have to understand that this is just a temporary situation. And this is why we tell Jake, don't get all invested and caught up in this world, because it will ultimately disappoint you. It will fail you because this whole Babylon system was created to be a failure. All right. So if you're, all up in the world and, you're over here complaining and you're suffering with the people of the world, it's because ultimately you're not in the right spirit, man. All right. Hey, Babylon is supposed to fall. This society is supposed to come to an end. You would understand that this is part of the curses that the Lord is putting upon all of our enemies. Remember in Baruch, the scriptures say that miserable is the cities that the Israelites had to serve in captivity. And now we're living in a time to where that is coming to pass. But if you're still in this, I'm an American, I'm trying to figure out the American dream, and you're still caught up in this world and caught up in, caught up in the mind frame of being a Babylonian and an American and not an Israelite, searching unto the things that pertain unto life and salvation in the kingdom that is to come, then guess what? You're gonna crash out right along with the rest of the crash outs here in Babylon the Great. It says, let me read this. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 16, it says, for which cause we faint not, but though our outward man perish, yet the inward man is renewed day by day. For our light affliction, which is but for a moment, worketh for us a far more exceeding and eternal weight of glory. For while we look not at the things which are seen, you see, but that's the problem with majority of our people. They're looking at the things that are seen. They're looking at this current American situation and their future and their lives and their children. And, Jake is seeing that, that's no longer sustainable here in America, that was a dream, it's too expensive to live the typical, husband and wife, 2 children, sending them to college, buying new cars, which I'm going to show you in this article. I'm going to show you just how expensive and out of reality that shit really is for the average everyday American people. I mean, a citizen, man. It's goddamn ridiculous. You see, but it's these type of thoughts and this type of, thoughts that are going to continue to plague our people, because ultimately, they're not on the right vibration. They're not moving in the right frequency. They're not focusing on the things that truly matter, but they're focused on, the things that are seen, their current situation here in America, and they're upset and they're mad and they're complaining. We got Trump getting ready to cut food stamps and cut Section 8, a lot of the things that a lot of our people depend on to get by. You see, but once these things are cut, hey, Jake is going to completely crash out, because ultimately all of their faith, their hope is in this American system continuing on, but not in the things, the heavenly things, so to speak. Salakia, I just woke up. It says, while we look not at the things which are seen, but at the things which are not seen, for the things which are seen are temporal, but the things which are not seen are eternal. All right. And what are the things not seen? The kingdom of heaven, our salvation, being delivered out of this captivity, out of the oppression of our enemies, being sovereign, being in our kingdom where we'll be able to rule and have the say so and the rule, and the power. Jake is not looking at that, because Jake doesn't seem, Jake looks at that and it doesn't benefit them, because it's not something that they could see and grasp and touch right now. So therefore, their focus is not on these things. They're only focusing on the things that they can see in their current situation here in America, which is going completely left. It's going completely down the shithole. So therefore, like I said, hey, when these Babylonians really crash out, 2/3 of our people are going to crash out, because their hope and their faith is in the things that are in this society. So let's go. It says the American dream has long symbolized the promise of opportunity, prosperity, and upward mobility. And remember, when the American dream was only for the so-called white man. All right. It was never, was made for you so-called Negroes to obtain it. And that's something that Jake fails to realize, And when they hear the American dream, they think when it was established that it was being established for you so-called Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans. All right. The American dream was for the so-called white man and white woman, not for you damn tribes, not for you Negroes, Latinos, and Native Americans, man. It says, coined in 1931 by writer James Truslow Adams in the Epic of America, the term described that dream of a land in which life should be better and richer and fuller for everyone, with opportunity for each according to ability or achievement. But that was for the so-called white man and white woman. Remember, scriptures tell you that this is not our rest. All right, we wasn't brought here to to achieve the American dream. We were brought here to serve a punishment, to serve captivity. We were served here to be oppressed, and punished for our rebellion against Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. But somehow Jake still tried to apply the American dream unto themselves, man. And that's why you're going to lose, because you don't understand that was never for you. You don't really understand the true reason of why we were brought here to the shores of America in the first place. It was to serve punishment and captivity to Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, okay? It says, but nearly a century later, achieving that vision is more expensive than ever. According to a new research published by Investopedia, the lifetime cost of attaining the traditional American dream, including home ownership, which Jake ain't ever, you having home ownership. Hey, there was a lot of things put in place to stop you from having home ownership. You see, it says including home ownership, retirement, raising children, a wedding, new cars, healthcare, pets, and annual vacations now total roughly $5 million, man. You see, that's out of reach for the everyday average person here in America, especially you tribes, man. You see, in this atmosphere in 2025, living the American dream costs $5 million, man. And that's the amount of money that the average Negro, Latino, and Native American will never touch, nowhere near close to that in a lifetime, man. So what does this show you? That the American dream is a goddamn nightmare. It's unattainable, and it's never going to happen, because eventually we know this society is going to collapse and fall, man. But I'm just doing this lesson to show you just how much we need Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, man. And you brothers and sisters out there, we should be praying for the hastening of the return of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai, man. All right. And this is why these devils are getting ready to collapse this society. This is why they're getting ready to bring in this new world order, this new digital dystopian technocracy, man. It says these calculations assume a college-educated, dual-income household capable of sustaining these ambitions over a lifetime. And look what happens now. And it's another reason that this is unattainable? It says dual-income households. Divorce rates are through the goddamn roof. People can't even stay together. Men and women can't even cohabitate for 10 years, together in order to make this dream work. And it says over a lifetime. That means a man and a woman that's going to be married all the way until their old age, man. That's not happening here in Babylon the Great. Most of these households and marriages, they end in divorce. If the men, assets get split, they got to sell the house, they go their separate ways, children raise up in separated households. It causes depression, anxiety, hatred, all type of other bullshit. So how is the hell is the American dream even attainable anymore when the things that it takes to keep those things going doesn't even work here in this society, man? It says Philip E. Batin, president and CEO of Illinois-based Ambassador Wealth Management in Warrenville, Illinois, told Newsweek the American dream is becoming harder to reach for many people. Wages for middle and working class Americans aren't keeping up with the rising cost of things like housing, health care, and everyday expenses. Look at this. Retirement, $1.6 million. Retirement represents the largest single expense in the American dream. Investopedia estimates that to maintain an average annual expenditure of $63,609 for those who are age 65 and older over 20 years, adults needs $1.6 million saved, accounting for 2.5% annual inflation increase. Impossible. It's not going to happen, man. Like I said, I know a lot of people who are retired, but they're still working at Walmart, man. They still got to get a part-time job or even a full-time job on top of their retirement because it just doesn't pay the bills. Things are too expensive. You see? So look at that. Let's see what's next. It says, however, while this is ideal, that doesn't mean that it is easy to achieve. Almost half of Americans don't have any retirement savings at all. Even those in the middle class are falling behind, with average savings around $134,000, which may not be enough to ensure financial security in retirement. You see that? Through. Let's go to the next one. I'm not going to read all of it because it's kind of long. Look, for healthcare, $414,000, man. It says healthcare costs have soared over the past 2 decades, rising 5 to 6% annually, outpacing most other consumer expenditures. Investopedia calculates that from ages 22 to 85, the average adult will spend $414,000 on health-related expenses, including insurance, hospital care, medications, and long-term care. There's no doubt that healthcare costs, inflation, and slow wage growth make life harder. But Americans have faced and overcome huge challenges before, like wars, the Great Depression, and economic crashes. Yeah, but not like this one. This one is a whole nother monster, man. And look at this, home ownership, damn near $1 million, man. See, like I said, people don't even have $1,000 in their savings today, the average person. They're living paycheck to paycheck. All right, people are working 50, 60 hours. Like I said, watch these crash out videos on Instagram and on YouTube, man, of people saying, like, I don't know how you people are making it. You know, you just work all week, you know, only just to, you know, you get paid and your check is already gone before you even get to spend it. You got people, you know, living in their cars, you know, people doing these videos in their cars, you know, just crashing out, depressed. They're sad, you know, they just figuring out, like, how are you people making it, you know? Look at this. So home ownership is damn near $1 million. I know here in California, the average home here is at least like $580,000, bro. That's just the average house. That's just basic. So come on, man. That's just for the average house, man. It says for most Americans, owning a home is the most tangible sign of financial success, with median single family homes price ranging sitting at $415,000 in 2025. And I know over here in California, it's higher than that. That's a fact. It says, and 30-year fixed mortgages averaging 6.69%, homeowners face nearly double the purchase price over time when including interest, maintenance, and HOA fees. Owning a home, once a cornerstone of the American dream, is now out of reach for many young people. Despite rising costs, 85% of Investopedia's survey respondents still consider home ownership a vital part of the American dream, which you ain't never gonna get. All right? Because this place is through, man. All right. Just the everyday cost of just living is ridiculous, man. Look at this. This is Ecclesiasticus chapter 39 and 26. The principal things for the whole use of man's life are water, fire, iron, and salt, flour of wheat, honey, milk, and the blood of the grape, and oil and clothing. Well, now these things are so goddamn expensive. You know, people are struggling to even buy the principal things for life, man. Like I said, you go to the grocery store, you really got to pay attention to what you're paying for, because you go in there and buy 3 or 4 things. By the time you get to the register, you didn't pay $80, man, for about 4 or 5 items, when it never used to be like that. And now you got a lot of people are choosing whether to, you know, to put food on the table, or to pay their electricity bill, or to pay their car insurance, or to pay their car notes, or to even pay their mortgage, man. You see, so hey, the everyday cost of living here in America is breaking a lot of people, and it's only going to get worse and worse, especially as, you know, these new tariffs are being set by Trump administration. A lot of these countries now are saying they're not going to ship their goods here to America, which is going to make things even scarcer and even that much more expensive, man. And like I said, and now I was reading another article. They were saying they're going to have to. They was talking about Trump administration bringing a housing crisis type of situation, because a lot of people are underwater on their mortgages. A lot of people can't pay it. And then over here in California, they're steady building all these goddamn new houses. I'll be watching like, who the hell gonna live in these houses, man? Ain't nobody got no money to buy these brand new fucking houses. They're building these brand new neighborhoods. I tell you what's gonna happen pretty soon. People are just gonna be squatting in those goddamn new houses that they're building, because there ain't nobody even there to live in these houses. Can't even afford to move in there. And I know this for a fact. I remember not too long, like many years ago, I remember me and my woman who was looking at these newer houses in these newer neighborhoods. And I was like, fuck it, let's just get out. So we just got out, you know, just to look around. You know, we went in the backyard, and we went to the, you know, was checking out this nice ass house, and the screen door was just wide open. So we just went in there and just walked up, you know, looked around the house. We turned the water faucet. The water was working, you know. We went upstairs, went downstairs, checked out the whole house. And I was like, I told her, I was like, shit, if I was homeless, I'd be squatting in this motherfucker right now. You know, because, you know, it was wide open, and it was a brand new house, a brand new neighborhood. They were still building more houses, but the house was just open, you know, and we went in, checked the whole house out, the garage, upstairs, downstairs, you know, it was ready to be moved in, but the patio door was just wide open, man. I was like, shit, if push come to serve, I'll just, hey, you can just move, sleep in that motherfucker at night and leave during the day and come back at night or whatever. So they're building all these new houses, but ain't nobody finna move. Can't nobody afford to get them. Pretty soon, people are going to start squatting. Pretty soon, a lot of people are not going to take being evicted lightly. You see? So this place is just completely through. Look at this. Raising children in college. Raising 2 children from infancy through college remains one of the costliest undertakings. Using Economic Policy Institute data, Investopedia calculates $650,000 to cover childcare, transportation, meals, and other expenses, with college costs exceeding $230,000 for 2 children. Through, man. And another thing, going to these colleges is now people are realizing is a waste of time, because soon as it's a wasted investment. Because soon as you spend all this money for your kids to go to college and then graduate with a degree, they're not going to use that degree towards their career so that they can buy a house and start their family like the good old American dream used to be. Now these kids are going to college, coming out all this money in debt with no return on their investment, which is their degree. Even if they're being, I read this one article. It was this one Indian girl, and she had graduated with an engineering degree, and she was trying to, and she was applying at Starbucks. And guess what? She applied, and she still got denied for the job, man. So now she's sitting here with an engineering degree. And can't even get a goddamn job in the field. She couldn't even get a job at Starbucks. So what do you think is going to happen with that college, that college degree that they invested all that money in? It's not gonna return, which end up being a complete fucking waste. And I guarantee you, she's back at home living with her parents, adding more stress and more financial hardships to her family, because she's not moving out. She doesn't have a fiance or a husband to where that they can use those degrees to start their family. You see, so it's just everything here in America is through, man. It's unobtainable. It's just too much. It's too expensive. It says college is more expensive than ever, and many students take on a lot of debt. You see, only to find that their paychecks don't grow fast enough to pay it off quickly. And according to the Education Data Initiative, the average cost of college is $38,000 per student per year, including books, supplies, and daily living expenses. Through. See, look at this. New cars, $900,000. Vehicle ownership is another central pillar, with 72% of respondents citing their ability to buy new cars as part of their dream. Financing 2 new vehicles every 10 years for a lifetime comes to $900,000. God damn. You might as well get you a used car. But again, most of these people, they want to keep up with the Joneses. They want to live above their means. They want the Mercedes. They want BMWs. They want Audis. They want all these new flashy fucking cars. And a lot of these dumbass women will go and get a new car, and the goddamn payment is $800 and $900 a month. And that's not even including insurance and maintenance and wear and tear and other little things of that nature, man. Like I said, you got a lot of people who car notes are 4 and 5 payments behind. At any moment, that shit can be repossessed or taken from them. You see? And look at this, annual vacations and shit, which, that's what the Americans love. They love to go on trips. That's what these women like. Oh, you got to take me somewhere. I'm trying to go out of the country. I'm trying to vacate. I'm trying to go here. I'm trying to go there. Do all these big things, man. Look at this. What's that? Vacations is $180,000. What else? Owning pets. It's damn near $40,000 to own a pet, man. Look at that. 2/3 of U.S. households own pets, and 2/3 of the survey. Look at that. Pretty soon, hey, they're gonna start eating those goddamn pets when things get bad enough. Look at this. Weddings, $40,000. The cost of the dream. Look at that. Cumulative, those 8 pillars bring the full lifetime cost of the American dream to approximately $5 million. It says today the American people continue to adapt. No, they're not. They're crashing out, man. These people are losing it. They're not adapting. They're losing it, and they're coming to the realization that this shit is unattainable. It's never going to happen. So that's leading to what? Depression, anxiety. They're popping more pills. They're taking more medications. A lot of people are just fucking giving up. A lot of people are just wishing that a meteorite would just come and just hit the earth so they ain't got to worry about their problems anymore, man. You see, but this is why, hey, our faith is in Yahweh Bashem and Yahweh Shai. Pretty soon the Lord is going to set up one over this earth that is profitable. We're not going to be under this ruinous, oppressive type of system anymore. We're going to be in a righteous kingdom, in a righteous society. It says many pursue a side hustle or a second job, relocate for better employment opportunities, or temporarily use credit to make ends meet, Button said. But unlike families in the past, most households today don't have strong savings, pensions, or safety nets, making them more vulnerable when hard times hit. Right, and everybody is vulnerable. Everybody's being fucked up. But the difference is a lot of these people, they're going to crash out. They're going to lose it pretty soon, man. Especially 2/3 of our people, and mainly these goddamn American people, man. Because they're entitled, they're used to living a certain lifestyle, having these particular freedoms, making a certain amount of money. But hey, when that dries up and that way of living is no longer available, like I said, you're going to see more and more crash outs, man. All right. I read that already. This is Jeremiah chapter 51, verse 6. It says, "Flee out of the midst of Babylon and deliver every man his soul. Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of Yahweh's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense," which ultimately that recompense is going to be nuclear destruction. But in the meantime, Jake needs to be spiritually fleeing out of this place. Man, stop having your hopes and dreams and being fully invested in this American system. You can see how much the American dream costs, and the math ain't mathing for you average everyday Jakes out there. You're never going to be able to attain, the American dream. And you watching, you being on social media and watching people living their lives on Instagram and on YouTube, thinking that that's a reality and that's how everybody is really living, is further and causing you more psychological damage, man. Because you're not really living in reality. It says, "Babylon had been a golden cup in Yahweh's hand that made all the earth drunken." Right. What was the sentiment was America was paved with gold. You can come here and you can work hard. You can start a business no matter where you come from, and you can make it. This is the land of opportunity. It doesn't care who you are, what color you are, what race you come from. If you just come here and work hard and do this and do that, go to college, get a degree, hey, your life will be fantastic and you can make it. And now people are realizing that was a goddamn joke. And now they're realizing that the cost of that dream to attain it costs $5 million. And that's just, the minimum is $5 million. Okay. It says, "The nations have drunken of her wine. Therefore, the nations are mad." Yeah, they're crazy. They're bugging out. They're losing their minds. They're crashing out. Shit, a lot of these people are, hey, like I said in a couple of videos ago, now the new American dream is getting the hell out of America and going somewhere overseas where, things are not so expensive. Things are not so bad. It says, "Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain. If so, she may be healed." And she's not going to be healed. Trump is not going to make America great again. Hey, the American economy is unfixable. It's too laden with debt. It can't be repaid. It's not going to be fixed. It's not going to be paid off. All right. It's just going to further fall on the backs of you American people until ultimately it's going to fully and ultimately collapse under the weight of the debt. And people are really going to crash out at that point, and then that's when they're going to come with this new world order, with this new beast system, man. It says, "Take balm for her. If so, she may be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go, everyone into his own country." Like I said, a lot of these foreigners are getting they're getting their money and they're packing up, selling their houses and going back to their, to the countries they came from. Shit, a lot of these celebrities and American people are packing up and leaving America. I just read an article that Beyonce and Jay-Z just bought a house in England. So what does that tell you? You got people like Ellen DeGeneres and a lot of these other celebrities. They're gotten the hell out of America because they see, hey, this place is through. It's falling. So for you still believe in this American dream at this juncture in life, man, I don't know what the hell to tell you. All right. Hey, right now, recently, you had that $1 billion Powerball ticket. I guarantee you, everybody and their mama was playing that Powerball because what? They're hoping that they're that lucky one. They're hoping that they could get that money, hoping that they can, buy that one ticket that could change their lives forever. But for the majority for 99% of the people that brought that Powerball ticket, you just, you ain't gonna win, and you're gonna be stuck in the reality of of daydreaming of what you could do if you did win that money. That's about as far as it's going to go. All right. It says, "We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her and let us go, everyone, into his own country, for her judgments reacheth unto heaven and is lifted up even to the skies." Okay. And that's ultimately what's going to come to this place. This place is just going to continue to spiral more and more out of control. This American dream is never going to be able to be attained by the average everyday person. And your best bet is to forsake Babylon the Great. And if you're an Israelite, get yourself right with Yahweh Bashem Yahweh Shai at the end of the day. And keep your eyes focused on things that are above, not things that are on the earth. All right. But the will of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai and our kingdom that we got coming to us in the future. So with that, Lord willing, this is edifying. I'm going to give all praise, honor, glory to Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai for putting the spirit in me to do this lesson. Lord willing, you were edified. Until the next one, shalom.